NBA has actual beefs now, and this is very good for the NBA as a whole. Now, let me walk you through it. First of all, let me bring you back to a couple months ago. I was watching this video on YouTube. Forgot the guy who made it. It was a regular YouTube video. He breaks down how the NBA doesn't really have any true rivalries. I mean, in baseball, you have the Yankees versus the Red Sox. You have, in football, you have the Cowboys versus damn near everybody. Soccer, you have literally so many rivalries. I don't really keep up with soccer, but there's many rivalries. The NBA, really outside of the Los Angeles Lakers and Boston Celtics, there's not much there. I mean, there's not a lot of player rivalries. We saw LeBron James versus the Golden State Warriors for some years, but that fizzled out. So with no true rivalries, there's no real tension between fan bases that can go and escalate to a level of a Lakers Celtics. Like, Lakers fans from the 80s hate the Celtics, and Lakers fans now hate the Celtics. Like, Warrior fans back then hated the Cavs, but the Warriors fans now even care who the Cavs are. They're irrelevant. There's not a long winning rivalry, passion of hate there. To also add on to the rivalry aspect, there's been a lot of criticism around the league ever since the evolution of AAU basketball, EYBL, and that these players are very friendly. Like, a lot of these players, they hang out with each other after games. I mean, even John Morant and Draymond Green, when they were going back and forth on Twitter, Draymond said, yo, after the Christmas game, come bring the family and come over and have a dinner with me. Draymond Green and LeBron used to go back and forth a lot, and LeBron and Draymond are real buddy now. They're damn near best friends. So there's been a lot of people that hate how the NBA has been way too friendly. They say that these guys don't hate each other like the 90s and the 80s, and there's no real tension, which I agree. I don't think a lot of these players, they talk on the court, and talking on the court is cool. That's one thing, but to actually have tension with somebody else is a whole nother thing that the NBA has literally been lacking for the last 5 years. But recently, these new guys are starting to bring some interesting beef that makes just watching basketball more fun. So I'm going to start with the Luka Doncic and Devin Booker one. Luka Doncic and Devin Booker, they met up in the Western Conference semifinals last year, and a lot of people thought the Suns were going to win that series. Almost everyone thought the Suns were going to win that series, and they had a lot of back and forth. We all know Luka likes to trash talk with all trash talks to him, and Booker is well known to be a big trash talker, and he's talking this stuff to Luka. Things at first seemed to just be cool, but they have continued to escalate even after Game 7 when Luka ran them off the court in their home court. And now the other night we saw them going back and forth with each other, where after a game-winning miss from Luka, we saw Devin Booker seemed like maybe he was talking to Luka or talking to the ref, and then Luka would get into his face, and there was some chapping back and forth, and Luka made a great quote, which I thought was funny to me. He said, "I don't mind the trash talk, but just don't do it with a second left in the game." And I have two high caliber guys going back and forth like that. It set NBA Twitter on fire. You have people picking sides. Devin, Luka's on, Devin's wrong. It just brings more attention to the game. So every time we see a Mavericks Suns matchup, everyone is watching. It gains more viewership. People want to see these two go up against each other every night. Now, the reason why beefs and rivalries are so big, I mean, let's just look at a couple nights ago when the Los Angeles Lakers played up against the Golden State Warriors. Now, LeBron did play in that game, but everyone knows that LeBron versus Curry is a big thing. It's been a rivalry for years, and even though they don't hate each other, just the pure fact that those two are on the court or even in the arena together, well, it was the most watched regular season game in the last season. So that's just how much traction a rivalry and a beef could bring. So now it brings us to the biggest rivalry we've had in the NBA currently, with two guys that, quite frankly, aren't even all-stars, but they're mad entertaining in Dillon Brooks and Draymond Green. Now, back in the day when we had two people beefing or arguing over each other, it was a lot of back and forth. Maybe they'd give you a jab in the interview, but most of the stuff happened on the court. Well, with the modern times, everything happens online, and this beef started on the court and has went on to online. Last season, the Memphis Grizzlies played up against Golden State Warriors, and the Warriors took them out in 6 games, and it was a very competitive series. John Morant looked really good, but the Warriors were the NBA champions that year, and they just played championship basketball and knocked them out. Now, the Grizzlies, they're well-known shit talkers. I mean, Ja and Dillon Brooks literally talk so much stuff about not just the Warriors, but every team. I mean, earlier in the year, Dillon Brooks called Shannon Sharp a pedestrian, and Shannon Sharp is literally a Hall of Fame tight end in the NFL. Some argue one of the greatest tight ends we've ever seen play, and that was one of the low jabs that they do, but that's kind of their thing. That's what they do. So the beef would continue, and they had a lot of stuff going back and forth all season where Ja Morant would say, hey, we want the Warriors on Christmas Day. We want to play the Warriors. We don't like the Warriors. We want to play them. They did. They bashed up on Christmas night. The Warriors took that game. And then the NBA did their very first ever rivalry week, which, like I said, there's not a lot of rivalries in the NBA, but they tried their thing. And the Grizzlies were matched up against the Warriors again. And after that, we still kept seeing a lot of chatter back and forth. Recently, Dillon Brooks came out to say something about the Golden State Warriors once again, basically saying that he does not like them, he doesn't like the way they play, and he quite frankly hates everything about the Warriors, which is understandable. This is a team that knocked you out of the playoffs, and you guys have this beef going back and forth. Well, Draymond Green took it to the next level. Like I said, back in the day, maybe interviews or on the court is where we would have little back and forth beef shots, but now, well, players have their own ability to be just like me and sit in front of a camera and tell you how they truly feel about another player. And Draymond Green let it all out on his podcast. He essentially took a 26-minute podcast and said all he felt about Dillon Brooks and the Memphis Grizzlies after their comments. And well, he let him have it. Now, Draymond would say a lot about Dillon, about the way he acts and the way he plays, but this one probably was the one that fired him up the most.
If you ever wondered why the Memphis Grizzlies is not ready to compete for a championship, look no further than this idiot right here. They're actually depending on this guy to help them win a championship. And he says his game is cool. Quite frankly, that just shows how little you know about basketball.
Like, I agree with Draymond. Everything he said was completely right. Dillon Brooks is not a guy that should be the ones talking all the stuff for the team. I mean, he honestly plays for the Lakers at this point. He was terrible against us and, helped us beat them. But what he's saying is correct. Dillon attacked Draymond, basically saying that he doesn't know what he does on the court. And if you know anything about the Warriors, Draymond is a very key piece that he has helped this team win a lot. But the beef got better because right after that, the next day, they had to face off in a game. And the Golden State Warriors, who have struggled all year on the road, have won 7 home games, would come into Memphis without Ja Morant and do what most predicted. They would lose again to the Memphis Grizzlies. And we had this altercation where we saw Dillon Brooks and Draymond go face-to-face in game, and it got chirpy. And this was really something that everyone was looking forward to. Like, I unfortunately missed this game, but I wanted to know what happened between the two in the game. This is something that the NBA hasn't had in a while. Two guys that really, really, truly don't like each other. Like Devin Booker and Luka, I don't know if they truly, truly hate each other, but Dillon Brooks, Draymond, they truly do not like each other. Like, there is no love between those two guys. After the win, Dillon Brooks would get interviewed, of course, because all the media cares about what Dillon has to say about Draymond, and he would take some shots back at Draymond, calling his podcast Q, telling them to give Draymond a mic because she has so much to say about us. And to add on to calling his podcast Q, he told him to keep doing his podcast and keep blogging and keep doing the things that are off the court. Basically referring to that off the court, well, he called him a clown and said because on the court he's not doing anything really. Say what you want, but this is honestly what the league has needed, and honestly also the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, Memphis Grizzlies have been in a lot of heat lately with the whole Ja Morant situation and him missing we don't know how long with the gun, and to kind of have a lot of the media start talking more about Dillon Brooks having a beef with Draymond Green. And yeah, it's not positive news, but it's not something as bad as what's happening over here with Ja. This is basketball. This is what we love to see. This is what we like to get. I mean, Devin Booker had a great quote about his beef with Luka. He said, hey, you guys, this is what you guys wanted. You guys always said we're too friendly. Well, here you go. Here's two guys that don't like each other. And honestly, I applaud Devin for saying that. That's what we want. We want guys that can't wait to see the other guy because he's going to give him 40 points because he's been talking. There's so many ways to communicate now. Y'all can start a podcast. Y'all can go on TikTok. Y'all can post an Instagram post. You can do so much to say how much you dislike another player now. And this is the beef that is good for the league. Now, before I end this video, you might think, well, that's very toxic. That's unhealthy, blah, blah, blah. Good competition, when you're just attacking somebody's basketball skills, there's nothing wrong with that. That is completely healthy, that's actually good for the sport because it brings out your competitiveness and it brings you to play at a higher level, which is all we really care about. I mean, no one else would have cared about a regular season game in March if it wasn't for this beef. Yes, I understand there's a lot of playoff indications with these games, but that tension brings more eyeballs to a regular season game, which quite frankly, regular season sucks. So you need this type of energy, this type of back and forth for you to have more entertaining regular season games. So no, I don't like when two men don't like each other and they attack each other in honestly ways that seem juvenile to me. But personally, this is all in good health and good spirit. Dillon Brooks is attacking his game and Draymond's attacking his games, and you can't win. There is nothing wrong with that. UCLA had a pickup night every night. There is nothing wrong with that. I have no issue with it, and honestly, I applaud it because these guys have kept it, honestly, they've kept it professional. They haven't let anything go personal. It has not went south. It's been a good, healthy beef that the NBA, quite frankly, needs. But if you like this video, you want to hear more about it, go check out the video I did about Ja Morant and why I think that his career might go on a downward spiral, and it's not just because of the guns.